Have you ever wished you could know what the future held before you got there? What if you were given the gift of knowledge before you even began your journey? Now, I've been thinking about that because I made a lot of stupid mistakes when I was younger. And I wish I had someone to say, don't go down that road, go down this one. I'm Sherry, and welcome to From the Eyes of Wisdom, where we are pairing an experienced elder from Christa Senior Living with a passionate King's High School student ready to launch into the world. And while these conversations won't tell the future exactly, they did reveal a lot we weren't expecting about how to live life well. Are you ready? I can't wait for you to hear this. Welcome to From the Eyes of Wisdom. I am Sherry Lynn. So wonderful to be here with you. And our guests are here. We have Janea.
Yes.
Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Absolutely.
All right, Janea is here and Savannah is here. Savannah is a senior in high school, right?
Yes, I am.
Senior at King's, and you want to go into nursing.
I do.
And Janea had a wonderful career in nursing.
Yes.
All right, so we're going to talk about that, talk about life and wisdom and things that you can learn and things that you've been through. I want to start with just, Savannah, I thought it was interesting why you want to get into nursing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, growing up, I've had a lot of health issues with my back, and so I've been in and out of the doctor's offices, and it always stuck out to me, the nurses that were always there, even when the doctors weren't. They just brought so much comfort. And in a time where it was scary and I didn't really know what was happening, and still to this day have like questions about it, they always were just a good peace and comfort and always made me feel so valued.
I will tell you that nursing, to me, is one of those. There are certain vocations that to me are God vocations, that are like angels. Teaching is one of them. Nursing would be one. I have family members who are nurses. You probably know this. You will learn this as a nurse. You become the medical person for your whole family. Everybody probably calls and is like, my left ankle has something's on it. What am I going to do? Because they think you know, right? And you just become that WebMD for your whole family. The care that nurses have, it's really hard to describe because they're not the doctor, right? Like you said, that concern, that compassion, that the knowledge, that there's just something specific about nursing that is angelic to me. It really is. And I stand in awe for a person to say, yes, I will stand up and help this person who can't do for themselves.
Yes.
Isn't that godlike?
It is.
That's what God did for us through Jesus. I'm preaching now. Anybody got some water for me to? No, okay. Janea, tell me about specifically, when we get to nursing, I'd like to know, you were talking about working in isolation. That's what you did in the beginning, right?
Yes.
Yes. Talk about what that means when you were working in isolation in the hospital, because I don't think that's something that it doesn't exist now, does it? Or maybe it's called something else.
Well, they do have isolation wards, and of course with COVID.
Oh, right. So what was it when you started working in it?
Okay, when I started, it was in the 50s, and we were putting polio patients into iron lungs because that was the only way we could help with their respirations.
Yeah.
We didn't have what they have now. And I helped put polio patients in the iron lungs. I helped put tracheotomies in the patients right in their rooms and all. We had a lot of antibiotics. I was in training only 4 years after the end of World War II, so we had penicillin, and it was just amazing. It was like miraculous cures, a lot of the things. And I found out, I trained in California, and we put polio patients in the iron lung while they still had some of their lung muscles and they could breathe.
Okay.
We didn't wait till they couldn't breathe at all on their own. And the respiratory therapist told me that we actually saved muscles.
Wow.
So they were able to bring them out of the iron lungs much sooner.
When you first started, Was it difficult seeing people so sick? Do you think about that, Savannah?
I do.
About you're seeing people at their absolute worst that they can't, do you consider that when you consider the field?
I think just like for me, I like carry a bunch of like other people's burdens, like I've noticed. So like I think the biggest like worry I have is like just taking on like seeing so much hurt and pain.
Did you have that in the beginning? Seeing hurt and pain, feeling it, seeing these people in these terrible conditions. Did you take that home with you in the beginning? Did it bother you?
I think I was able to leave it there, but also I was extremely caring. I don't know, it was because number one, when at the beginning, I was living there at the hospital, so that was my home.
Wow.
For the first 3 years.
Okay.
And then, of course, when I had my own apartment, I think I was able to leave it there. But you did the best you could. And especially if you could show them love, you know. And then there were times when I worked with people who knew that they were dying. And to be able to talk to them and help them. You know, if you're having pain, let us know. We can give you more pain medicine. And I was telling this one man how my mother saw the light at the end of the tunnel. And it was a beautiful, peaceful place. And she wanted to stay there so badly. And she had to come back. I said, now, my mother would not lie to me. So you have nothing to fear. You know, you have this beautiful, peaceful place that you're going to.
So I hear you telling Savannah, listen, it's going to be hard, but if you can love,
yes,
if you can add value to the person.
Oh yes, oh yes. And no matter, I mean, we had, I trained in a county hospital. We had the poorest people there, but you could still love them, you know.
And you want to do missions, am I right?
I do, yes.
Talk a little bit about that.
Growing up, I've been involved in a lot of like local missions as well as like global. My dad worked at Seattle's Union Gospel Mission, and so I kind of grew up like with people who were experiencing homelessness and just like created something in me that just like desired to help people and just like seeing how they really aren't different than us. Like they have the same needs, they have families, and they just need love. And so like that started it. And then going on some mission trips recently to Mexico and most recently Nicaragua last year, just like kind of showed me how big our world is and how much of Jesus the world needs. And just like the possibilities of being able to help people all over the world in, I don't know, that just sounds really cool.
Yeah, and adding Janea's wisdom to it of saying, the way you can help them even when it's hurting. And I would guess seeing people in pain has to hurt you a little, you know.
Yes, but we have things that can help them with their pain.
Yeah. And you're like, I know I can help here.
Yeah, and sometimes just talking to them and finding out what's bothering them the most and all, aside from their pain and what they're going through. I've had that several instances of that. And I just told the patients what I believe. I said, no, that's not going to happen, and don't you worry about it, you know.
So a step beyond just being the nurse that gives the medicine or gives the medical care, but being a listening ear or being someone they can trust or being someone that cares about the person in front of them.
That's right.
That matters.
Yes, that's important.
Did you ever walk out of a room and say, you know what, I'm pretty good at nursing. Doggone it, I'm good at this. Did you ever have a day like that?
Yeah,
I
felt that, yeah.
Okay. Was there anything specific you remember where you were like, you know what, I'm good at nursing?
When the first day I was in uniform, that was, you know, I was just out of high school, 18 years old.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I had my uniform on, and all we could do was pass water or bedpans.
Okay, all right.
That's it.
You don't want to mix them up.
I felt like I had come home. This is where I belong.
Really?
And I've never changed.
Sense of purpose.
Absolutely.
That's nice. Yeah, okay.
You know, when I couldn't do much of anything, this was it.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I pray that for you, Savannah. Do you already feel that towards nursing? Like, this is my purpose?
I don't think I've hit that quite yet.
Okay.
I feel like I am really called to it. And I think it will be like open up really cool doors.
Yeah.
But I think there will be a moment when I definitely feel like how
Well,
you
it's a blessing, and I pray that you get it.
Yeah. I can imagine that feeling of saying,
Well, and so many young people in the 50s, oh, I have to find myself. And I thought, oh, those poor people. I never had a problem.
yeah, I got mine. I got this uniform. Let's go. Listening to your story, Jane, I thought about dealing with people because Savannah, well, in high school, let me ask you this. How do you deal with a difficult person in high school?
I think it's hard. I think like going through it is definitely difficult, but like just stepping back and realizing like we all have our things, like we all have our struggles, and like we just all have different ones, and we need to like be supported and loved in different ways.
Have you dealt with someone difficult this school year where you were like, he or she is getting on my last nerve? How did you get out of it? Were you mad? Did you go off? Did you go home? Did you cry? Did you call somebody? What did you do? How did you deal with it?
I think just, I don't know, it hasn't been like that bad, but like in moments where I found myself getting frustrated, just like giving some space and like really just like encouraging myself to like give grace. And
give grace.
Yeah, it's not gonna be a forever thing. Like we'll work past it and it'll be good. But
all right. Because I feel people who I know who are nurses, people who I love who are nurses, it's the personalities that they have talked about that you can come across. And the people I've talked to, but you tell me, it's not even the patients, it's the other nurses, it's the doctors, it's the clashing of the personalities that can cause you some friction and some issues. I'm wondering what wisdom you would give to her, because she's going to get, right now she's like, yay, nursing, woo, help people, yay, missions. And then she's going to be with some other nurses, and that yay is going to come down about 5 decibels. And I'm wondering what wisdom you would give on dealing with difficult people, how you work through that.
I'm trying to think, because I think the most difficult people I worked with were those that were in jail or prison, because I did work both places. But I found out I always showed them respect.
Well, I want to say something about that real quick, because I was listening to your pre-interview, and you said something that struck me, and I wrote it down. The interviewer asked you, how did you help people who you knew did these heinous, horrible things, right? She's the nurse in jail, right? And so you're bringing this person, I know what you've done to other people, that's why you're in this jail. And you said, I treated the illness.
The illness.
The illness. I treated the illness.
The one person I was thinking of, he had an infection in his hand. And what he did is, I won't even tell anybody. It was so horrendous. But to me, that was the infection, and that's what I had to treat, and I tried to be very polite to him.
Because the illness, see, again, that's so, that's very spiritual to me, very Christ-like to me, is what he does for us, right? He goes to the sin, like whatever, I'm treating the illness, right? That's why I think nursing is so amazing, is that you could do that. And that takes a specific person. God bless both of you. Because I'd be like, he did what? No. Well, then his hand going to have to shrivel up then. That's how I would be.
Well, I've always felt nurses, anybody going into nursing has to be someone who wants to help.
Yes.
And so
Sounds
even
like that's
now,
how you are,
at 90, I'm always trying to help people. And sometimes the only way I can help them is by smiling at them. You know?
Yeah.
And some people where I live here, they'll be kind of having a grouchy day or something, but I'll smile and I'll say, oh, I really like your top today. And, you know, and I feel that's the only way I can help them now.
So if she's going to come up against somebody she's working with, because I think you talked about there was a doctor you just didn't like and you were working for him, and it was like, this guy.
Oh, yeah.
This guy. Lord, this guy. Father God, this guy. So she's going to have that, right? She doesn't know it yet, but she's going to have it. Like, what suggestion would you give her? What wisdom would you give her in dealing with people like that?
What I did is I isolated myself in this little room and cried and said, God, keep giving it to me. I don't want this kind of a husband, because I was told if you don't learn to work this out with him, you're going to get the same kind of person as a husband.
Who told you
By
that?
a spiritual teacher. And so I'd go in the lab and cry and say, okay, God, keep giving it to me. I am going to get through this no matter what. And I did.
Yeah.
I could go out and be very nice and pleasant. And I thought of all his good points. He did have a lot of good points.
There you go. Well, that sounds like something that you're already considering, where you said, I kind of take a step back and want to give grace and think about, because that happens no matter what the job is. We're going to come up against people where you're like, this is a lot, and this person is a lot. And I've had a lot, and I don't want any more, and being able to go beyond that. But isolating yourself and getting that emotion out by yourself, I guess, helped.
Yes, that's what really helped.
Yeah. So leaving a job or leaving a situation, you said something that was really good, and I thought, man, I never thought about that before. Because now, this is not to disparage your generation, Savannah, of course, but there was something called quiet quitting, and then people just kind of leave. I've seen people like on the TikTok, so that's what it's called, the TikTok. I've seen people on the TikTok would just leave online, like they quit online for everybody to watch. Like one guy, you shouldn't do this, but it was kind of funny. He left with a marching band, like the marching band came in for him to say, I quit. Had a whole bass drum and snare and whatever. Okay, so there's this thing where it's like burning bridges. And you said something about leaving a situation, and I guess not even just a job, just a situation. The phrase was, I really learned a lot.
Okay, I've always told the younger nurses that when you go to quit a job, if you cannot stand that job and that's it, you've got to quit. You don't burn bridges. What you do is you write and say, I really learned a lot. Maybe all you learned was you hated that place, but you just say, I learned a lot, but it's time for me to move on. Thank you. And that's it. Mm-hmm. Twice I worked for Sisters of Providence, and 20 years later, I went back and worked for them again. In the jail. I worked, and then I went to the prison, then I went back to the jail. Mm-hmm. They rehired me. Yeah. They rehired me each time because I was pleasant. And
I really learned a lot, Savannah.
Yes.
That is really good. I really learned a lot. It's time for me to move on, but I really learned a lot. Do you have any questions, maybe specific ones, nursing, that I wouldn't have to know or ask?
I would love to hear some of the stories about you in like the prisons and like what kind of experiences you had there.
I could be so stupid sometimes. I thought I was applying for a visiting health nurse job in Reno. Mm-hmm. I thought it was kind of funny. I had to go to the jail to apply for that.
To visit it.
I hadn't a clue it was a jail nurse. But I've always had the feeling that when you apply for a job, you go for it. And if God wants you to have it, you'll get that job. If he doesn't want you there, you won't get it. Yeah. And so it was comforting to me, because most of the times I got the job. Uh-huh. So I thought, well, I've got to go for the job. So I went for it, and I got it. Yeah. But that's how I ended up a jail nurse.
You realized you weren't visiting.
I thought it was visiting health,
So pay attention to the application.
Yeah, make sure you know what you're going for.
There's a lesson. What else? Any other questions?
Do you have like one patient you remember, like someone that really stuck out to you for one reason or another?
Yes. When I worked in the jail, there was a man, I don't even know what he was in for, but he was a black Muslim. And he wanted to have nothing but peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for lunch, because they always serve sandwiches every lunch, and sometimes it was tuna fish, and according to his religion, he could not eat tuna fish, right? Yeah. So I said, fine. I said, make out a thing to see the doctor, and if the doctor orders you to have peanut butter and jelly, you'll have peanut butter and jelly the whole time. You save the county a lot of money, too. So anyway, that's what happened. He did that. Well, then on doing medicine rounds one time, I heard him talking to some young kid who didn't know his way around. Anyway, he told him, he said, you be nice to that nurse. If you need something like to go to a dentist or to see a doctor or something, she'll make sure you get there. But if you're going to, treat her badly, forget it. So you be nice to her. Well, I met him in prison, my black Muslim friend. And so the last time I saw him, I said, I want you to know I heard you talking to that young prisoner, and I so appreciate what you said to him, So I almost felt like we were friends, even though I didn't know that much about him. But
well, you must have showed him a level of love and compassion that he probably wasn't used to being a prisoner, right?
Yeah.
And so much so that he was willing to tell other prisoners, hey, respect her.
Yes.
That's
that
really
meant
what you want.
a lot to me, and I let him know that.
I understand why.
But that's what I believe in doing, is you thank people. I said to somebody who loaned me her phone, I said, did I thank you for that yesterday? She says, you thank me all the time. But I was so worried that I'd forgotten to, because I really believe you thank people for what they do, even for a smile or a good word. And I did that with patients.
Oh, that's amazing.
And one of the ladies wrote a letter to me thanking me. She said it was so nice. Whenever you walked into our ward at night, there was always a smile on your face. And that meant a lot to her.
Yeah, I bet it did. It goes back to what we were saying, which is it goes so much more than just medical care.
Yes.
It's making that person feel like, well, for our
They're
faith,
worthy.
that they're worthy, that God loves them, and I'm a representative of Him.
That's
coming
true.
here now to help you. And that's, again, why I honor the profession the way I do. Any other questions you may have?
One last question. Did you have anyone that you looked up to, or like someone that inspired you to get into nursing?
When I was 5 years old, I was going to be a nurse and take care of babies, my girlfriend and I, and that never changed.
Really?
As a teenager and all, it was never any question in my mind. And when at Highland, where the county hospital, it cost $50 a year. You got all your uniforms, books, you lived there, you got your room and board and everything. $50 a year.
That's what your tuition looking like right now?
But you see, I mean,
why not?
God just,
That's wonderful.
And it was fantastic, because at county hospital, you only had people if they were sick.
Yeah.
A student nurse from another hospital that was taking pediatrics or something at our hospital, I heard her say, I'm so tired of sick people. And I said, what do you mean you're tired of sick people? Oh, well, our hospital, if the doctor goes on a convention, his wife comes into the hospital for the week he's gone and took up a private room.
Oh, wow.
That's what went on at one time, but now they can't do that because of insurance.
But you were there when people were actually sick and you had to take care of them.
Yes, that's right. You didn't get in the hospital unless they were sick, and very, very sick. So.
You had wonderful questions, Savannah. Now I am going to tell you to take that piece of paper over on your side and that pen. And Janea, I'm going to say that if she needs one piece of advice, she's going to write it down from you, and she's going to carry that to college. That's probably more than $50 a semester. And she's going to carry that to her first nursing job. And she's just one piece of advice from your years of wisdom and living and all the twists and turns your life has taken and how God has kept you through it all. What one piece of advice would you want her to have that she will keep that piece of paper for the rest of her life?
No problem. Live without regrets. I stood by while a doctor was examining this patient, and she was crying, and he said, what's the matter? I want to see my mother. Oh, if I could only see my mother one more time. And he said, well, then why don't you go and see her? Yeah. She died. And this woman did end up on a psychiatric ward. And I made up my mind then and there, I was not going to live with regrets. I went the last 2 years Mom was alive, I would go over and see her, and sometimes I didn't want to and this and that, but I did it anyway, and I'm so grateful I had those last 2 years. And so many times maybe I didn't want to do something, but I made myself do it.
So you wouldn't regret it later.
Never sorry. I really have no regrets at all.
that.
And boy, that is like peace and, you know, God's love and everything.
Yeah.
You know,
That's so
it's a
good.
blessing from God. So
It is.
in fact, we had to write something out for seniors. Our advice: live without regrets.
Without regrets. In fact, Savannah, can I borrow that pen? I'm going to write that down for myself. Live without regrets.
It's a blessing,
It is.
especially when you get older and you have nothing to do but think about your past, which I've really been thinking about lately. And I thought, oh, I'm so grateful.
That you can live without regrets.
What a blessing my life has been. I might not have a lot of money or anything else, but boy, I've had so many blessings, it's worth it.
God is good. Thank you, ladies, so much. You have been absolutely wonderful. Savannah, Janea, thank you. Ann, I'm Sherry Lynn, and this is From the Eyes of Wisdom, and we'll see you next time.